In our second term, Federal Labor will continue to move forward with this agenda in Indigenous Affairs. We will need to continue to address the decades of underinvestment in services, in infrastructure and in governments. And we have already earmarked substantial investment in future budgets for housing, for health and for education. We will continue rebuilding the positive social and community norms that are so necessary for strong families and for healthy communities. And we'll keep seeking out ways to strengthen relations between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. And I'll have more to say about each of these areas in the coming weeks. But pivotal to our agenda and a driver for the future is finding ways for Indigenous people to play a greater role in the economic life of the nation. We've just recently released a draft Indigenous Economic Development Strategy, and it's out there for consultation and discussion. For most Indigenous people, like any other Australian, participating in economic life normally starts with a job. A job creates stability and security for each and every one of us. And who can doubt that seeing their parents going out to work each day is the best role model that any child could have. But a job also, of course, means having financial responsibility, managing your money, excuse me, and the possibility of saving for a home or an investment. It can also lead to having the skills to take advantage of business opportunities. But a job requires, right at the start, a basic acquaintance with literacy and numeracy. We will be making sure that young Indigenous Australians get that basic necessary education that they need to get a job. A job also, of course, requires good health and a stable home. Health and housing will continue to be key action areas for us. But a job does require as well that confidence and a sense of self-worth. We will continue to strengthen relations, to acknowledge and respect the place of Indigenous people in the nation's past, present and future. We'll continue to seek ways of harnessing the benefits of native title rights, for jobs, for business development, for converting traditional knowledge of country into sustainable economic and social benefits, now and for the future. Ultimately, it is economic participation and development that can change individual and community fortunes in the long term, as an expander of opportunity through employment and economic activity. Also as a driver of responsibility through jobs, through financial planning, as a forger of personal and positive relationships, whether it's in business or through other shared economic interests. I spoke earlier of how the apology saw a shift in national sentiment, a new desire to at last set things right, to understand each other better, to respect each other more, to acknowledge that sharing the oldest continuing cultures in human history is a cause for great national pride, and to recognise that the stories that we don't always hear are so important, of unsung heroes and of the many quiet achievements, the people who think that they're ordinary but who do extraordinary things, the mums and dads, the grandparents, the community leaders, and of course, very importantly, the elders. The people who in very, very different ways are working to close the gap. For many Indigenous Australians, there will continue to be very difficult challenges ahead, and along with them, I have no illusions about that. It's also the case, of course, that no government can solve every problem. I know that some would argue that governments indeed are part of the problem, and part of our challenge is to turn this around, to make sure that governments become part of the solution. Importantly, we want to back those leaders in all settings who are positive, the people who work hard and who know the value of teamwork, those who stand up for others, especially those who are down on their luck, and those who are out there and prepared to say that enough is enough. Previous governments did find many of these challenges too difficult and gave up. We do intend to stay the course, working with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to create the opportunities and the hope that's needed for more Indigenous people to aim high and to achieve their aspirations, so that a child growing up in any part of Australia, whether it's in the Alice Springs town camp of Larapinta Valley, right out in the west in Fitzroy Crossing, in the north in Arakoon, or into the west of New South Wales in Wilcannia or Dubbo, in the northeast of Victoria in Shepparton, or in the suburbs in Redfern or in Northcote. Each and every child we want them to have the expectations and the ambitions of every other Australian child. A job,